everyone, it's St. Pam. Tonight we are going to talk about mounts in Camelot Unchained. Now, of course, as always, if I'm echoing or anything, please tell me because I definitely would like to know. Anyway, now as far as the mounts go, of course they are not confirmed. In fact, there is a pretty good chance that there won't be any mounts, which that's fine if it's what is best for the game. However, there are people that would like mounts for various reasons, and so we're going to talk about some of the possibilities. I'll almost exclusively be talking about my idea for mounts, but I'll have an idea that someone else touched on as well that I think is a good idea and would like to see whether we get individual mounts or not. Now, the idea that I have is that you would have to tame your mount. And you'd only be able to have 2, maybe 3. You wouldn't be able to have like an endless amount. Of course, they would need to be fed, tended to. If they're injured, you'd have to try to tend to those wounds, of course. And if you tire of one or wish to change it, and at that point you would have to sell it to a stable or to another player. Now, there could be some stable in the safe zones that there could be some mounts in a stable in the safe zones that you would be able to tame or purchase. These, in my opinion, should have a slower speed that may not really be much more than your run speed than the ones that you would tame out in the open world. Now, as far as the speed goes, I know one of the things that people are not wanting to see as far as the mounts go is negating the speed classes. Which I totally understand that. I really don't care if the mounts are as fast as the speed classes can make you. They could be slower. They could actually all just be a little bit past what your run speed is. And I would be fine with that. They don't have to be super fast. Just a little bit faster. So if you're by yourself, you can move a little quicker than your normal run speed. Now, to ensure that they don't really make the world feel small, as some other people have kind of said that they haven't wanted to see, I would suggest something akin to a stamina bar. Basically, this would mean that you would be able to run the horse for a certain distance, but when the bar depletes, you may have to walk the mount or even stop so it could get some water. I mean, in the real world, you wouldn't constantly be running a horse. This could be shorter, a shorter bar for mounts that are from the safe zones, and a bit longer for mounts that are from contested areas. And that way, you know, there's a difference there. The more risk in taming the mount, then the more benefit you would have in it, of course. I also would suggest that if mounts are included, that the player would either have to put the mount in a stable or find a hitching post somewhere. I really do not think that there needs to be any magical summoning of the mounts. No pulling them out of your backpack or your back pocket or whatever. This kind of ties into the fact that your choices matter. And so it should really matter on if you take your horse with you or not as well. I mean, if you go to a contested zone, my thinking is you could come back to find that your horse has been killed or maybe even stolen. So you definitely have to consider any risks there may be if you take the horse outside of one of the safe zones. Even within the safe zones, I could see fellow faction members trying to steal your horse. Now, out in the world, in the contested areas, there could also be some rare skins. They wouldn't necessarily need to have any special abilities or speed buffs or anything like that. They would just have a special skin color or pattern. Or maybe it's if we don't get just horses, then maybe it could be a mount that you can't get anywhere else. Once they are tamed or killed, they would take days to respawn. Maybe even a good week before you see them again. I definitely would like to see something like that. I never have luck with them, but it's still fun trying to hunt down the rare spawns. I do also think that it would be great to use these mounts as pack animals for crafters. However, of course, because the mount would be weighed down with items, materials, or whatever the case is, then, they may be slower, and they should also have a limit to how much they can carry. There shouldn't be any unlimited space, but it definitely needs to be a bit more than the player has on themselves. Now, this sort of does bring me to another item that's related to the mounts. This one is not my idea, but it is one that I've seen tossed around, and it's for a caravan, which I personally think is a fantastic idea. Even if we don't have personal mounts, then it could be a good solution for moving people and items between distant points that the faction controls, especially since I highly doubt that we'll be able to just pull a siege weapon out of our bags. These caravans or supply lines could be attacked and disrupted by the other realms, or at least that's what I would like to see. That way, if it gets attacked or if it gets cut off, then, your route to the other destination is also cut off and you have to fight through or find another way around. And that way we would know that we have to protect those, and it allows for more random fighting around the world as well, skirmishes and what have you. Now, I know there is concern for how the number of mounts there are could affect combat. I certainly don't think that we should be allowed to stay on the mounts at the start of combat, like when the characters first engage. If there is fighting, then you could be knocked off the horse and it runs away, or even fall off of it if the horse panics. There's a few options for that. Since I think the mount should run away and not be something that we should be able to magically summon, this would also mean that a concern I'd seen in regards to people jumping on mounts when the fights turn bad, that wouldn't be an option because your mount's gone. If we have a way on ourselves to get the mount to return at all, then it should amount to a whistle or something that calls the animal back. But depending on why they ran away in the first place, it would definitely have a chance not to work. But that's at most. Honestly, if we're going to take them out into the world, then you need to have you need to find a stable or have a hitching post or something like that that you can tie them up to. Otherwise, they're just going to wander off. Another part of the concern about mounts is also the amount of pixels on the screen, which I completely understand. It could, at least at the start of battle, limit the number of characters that can be in that area and still have the game run smoothly. I don't want mounts to interfere with having big epic battles, and that's part of why, if we don't get mounts, that's just fine with me. I understand completely. I just hope that there's some way to make it work. The suggestion I made about being dismounted could help to solve those issues, especially if it's mounts that aren't used to combat. Then at the outbreak of a fight, most likely it would be scared off. I mean, horses don't just stay around for combat if they aren't trained for it. I do also want to cover some RP possibilities that I had considered myself. First off, of course, since my idea largely revolves around the idea of taming the mount, then you could have that could be something that crafters do, or even if it's not a crafter specific skill, you could have people who go out and tame the mount specifically to sell them, and that could be a role-playing reason for a store right there, because they're selling mounts, whether it's horses or more exotic animals. So I think that would definitely open up the door there. And as far as the taming goes, it could even be a rite of passage of sorts for some guilds. I definitely see possibilities there. Now, this also kind of ties in with the possibility of there being mounted combat. Because if the rite of passage for a guild is that you go and tame a mount, then they may also want it to be something that can deal with fighting. Now, I'm going to start off by saying that I do not expect this. And even if it is implemented, I hardly expect it to be done at the start of the game. I understand that mounted combat is less likely than getting mounts in the first place, but it's still fun to speculate on it. I think that mounted combat would be fantastic, but to be able to participate in it, there needs to be initial work put into it. Your mount is not going to be okay with fighting in the beginning. Just like in the real world, you have to train it to perform well in combat. It doesn't necessarily need to be a long time, but it's something that I feel you would need to do in order to take it into battle. Otherwise, it would still throw you off and run. This is not a suggestion that the mount itself be able to fight, but just that you be able to take it in and at least make a couple of attacks from the horse's back before you're dismounted. I know some people aren't going to like this because it could be seen as giving other players an unfair advantage. And while it does give an advantage, how long that advantage lasts would not be permanent. People are knocked off horses in combat all the time. Their mounts are killed or maimed, and I definitely want that to be part of this. The mount needs to be able to be killed. And of course, they can still be frightened away. Just because it's trained doesn't mean it wouldn't be frightened by a boulder crashing near it or whatever. And of course, once knocked off your horse, it would run off, it would be gone, and you wouldn't be able to get back on it in combat. Again, it all comes back to the choices you make mattering. You can choose to tame and train a mount, or you can choose to stay afoot. There were plenty of people who fought afoot. This idea also opens up something that crafters can do, and that is creating armor for horses. It shouldn't be enchanted or anything like that. It should just be something that makes them a little harder to kill and makes them look a little fancier too, maybe. I mean, who doesn't like customizing things as much as they can? I know I do. And again, I know this will come up against the pixels issues. It's not even something that I really expect to happen, but it would be cool if it's possible. It also has the awesome possibilities for RP because people do get attached to their animals, and it can be devastating to lose one. A lot of people will go to great lengths to protect their animals as well. I mean, I know my characters would, and so I would expect to see that. Anyway, that's about all I have for tonight. It really wasn't too terribly much. I just wanted to talk about the mounts a little bit and the possibilities. I know that I mostly talked about my brainchild here, but there are a lot of great ideas on the Back'em forums, Packers forums, as well for mounts and other transportation options. So if you want to see more, then certainly check those out if you haven't already, and if you have access to them. Now, I hope that you enjoyed this stream, and I would love to hear your thoughts as well. Oh, and I almost forgot, some of you already know this. This is the last week that I will be streaming on Friday. I will be changing to working Monday through Friday, and it's going to be an evening schedule, so I won't be able to do this time anymore. So my new stream is going to be Saturday at 6:30 Eastern. So the time will be the same. It's just the day that's going to change. And if Saturday doesn't look like it's working, then it'll be changed to Sunday, but the time itself will still remain the same. Now, as always, I've enjoyed this, and I hope that you have as well. And, you know, if you have, then please follow me or subscribe below. And thank you all for watching, and I hope you have a great night.